Welcome to the P.A.S. Report podcast. If you're tired of censorship, outraged by government abuses, and thirsty for real insights, then you're in the right place. Get ready, because here, the fight for freedom never ends. Here's your host, Professor Nick Giordano.
Welcome, everyone, to the P.A.S. Report podcast. This is your host, Nick Giordano. I'm glad you joined me. Make sure that you follow and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. Also, visit the P.A.S. Report website, pasreport.com. So much going on. Election's almost here, and we live in a society where it seems that idiocy has become the norm. And I got a great guest to talk about it. Just dropped a brand new book. AJ Rice, author of The White Privilege Album, bringing racial harmony to very fine people on both sides. So you could go right off the bat, he's looking to annoy a few people out there of the left of the political spectrum. AJ, welcome aboard. How are you?
Nicky, my brother, great to be here. I'm your favorite Irish guest. So here we go.
Are. I mean, I love having you on. Listen, in today's politics, there are so many people that don't have a sense of humor at all. And I'm talking about on the left and the right. And your book is actually great because it blends satire, journalism, humor in order to tackle like the cultural issues that are right in front of us. So my first question to you, what inspired you to write the book?
Well, I grew up listening to Rush Limbaugh, and he used to say, his job was to use irreverent humor to illustrate truth, to use absurdity to illustrate truth. And some of my mentors, like Andrew Breitbart and Laura Ingraham, I was Laura's producer for years. We did that, when we produced the show. Breitbart, I had the fortunate relationship with that. I was involved in a lot of his stuff when he was sort of breaking away from the Drudge Report and doing his own thing. And look, the American people care about their culture. They absolutely do. They care more about their culture and what follows them home and what follows the kids home, what's in the kids' devices, more than they do who's running for state senate down the street. I mean, maybe you pay attention, but when you see your entire civilization, your entire culture, your neighborhood, your church, your school, your diet being reset by someone that thinks they know what's best for you, you've got to pay attention. You absolutely have to pay attention. So my job is to, sort of mock them for it. There's nothing sort of more fun than perfectly timed derision. And I will say that, there's plenty of people out there, and I run Publius PR, and we work with them. Plenty of people out there that can do the intellectual deep dive or preach from the pulpit. I'm not going to do that. Comedy has always been the sort of first recorded sort of version of history. But the comedians have gotten scared, a lot of them. Now, some of them have migrated. Some of them have migrated to, podcasts. And interestingly, you see Trump actually doing some of those podcasts, which is a very good strategy. More Theo Vaughn, less CNN. Because that's where the sort of undecided people have migrated to. It's a totally different world. And, shows like this, Trump should do this show. The reality
I completely agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, when the comedians are scared, totalitarianism has arrived. And what is comedy's definition? Tragedy plus time, right? So with the White Privilege album, with an apology to the Beatles, not to Yoko, though. I'm not apologizing to Yoko. We are having fun with American culture. And that there's 12 chapters. Chapter 1 is January. Chapter 12 is December. I go through an entire calendar year, and I call it the 12 months of privilege. And we examine some crazy stories that you won't believe. We examine historical moments, some of our traditions, some of our holidays, and we poke fun at the woking dead along the way.
As you certainly should. Now, when we look at humor, part of the problem is that many of the comedians, it's not only that they're scared, many of them just aren't funny anymore. I mean, you look at the late night shows, Stephen Colbert is not funny. Jimmy Fallon's not funny. So it's good that the one thing the woke culture did is it actually made conservatives cool. It actually made conservatives the fun ones. And how do you think humor breaks through the madness of the cultural Marxism that we're witnessing along with the woke ideology?
It's the silver bullet for it. I mean, absolutely. It melts right through it, because it doesn't matter how many Jimmys and how many Stevens you got on at night. I mean, they're getting crushed by Gutfeld, rightly so. And there are some sort of honest liberals out there, sort of free speech, absolutist liberals like Bill Maher, that, he knows that when they come for Rice and they come for Nick here, and we all head to the gulag, we're all going to head to the same gulag, because they don't want him to have an opinion on certain things either. And we don't, he's by no means a Trump guy. Guys like Dave Chappelle, he's not exactly Ben Carson, but he doesn't want to be told what to say. So he's going to go there. And the more you tell him that you can't say that, or it's this or that, or this joke or that joke, and the trans mafia comes after you, he's going to keep going there. He's not going to stop. I mean, look, I like to talk about what are woke Waterloo moments. Waterloo, the famous place where Napoleon finally lost a battle, a big one in Russia. And one of them was when Ricky Gervais got up in front of the Golden Globe.
That was great.
And just dunked on the entire room and just went down the line like an OG. Weinstein, Epstein, Weinstein, Epstein, Weinstein, Epstein, Weinstein, Epstein, right down the line. And if you did it tomorrow, it would be, Weinstein, Epstein, Diddy, Weinstein, Epstein, Diddy, and exposed all the buffoons in the room who had the audacity with the Me Too movement to get outraged. They put on their pink pussycat hats. Madonna's outside the White House talking about how she's going to blow up the White House. Ashley Judd is, doing an abortion on our souls and on our ears, and we're listening to her scream, right? She used to be a good actress. I don't know what the hell happened. So they all backed that, the Me Too movement. And yet they were all the bulletproof vest for Matt Lauer, for Weinstein. They were interlocked with a force field protecting.
Well, they're frauds. People. I mean, it's clear that they're frauds.
Right. So, I like exposing that. I think Ricky Gervais, it's funny. I used to, when I was producing Ingram's show, when I was sitting next to her, and she's a killer. She's a killer. Don't play with her. She'll eat you alive. Okay. This is why she's the best. I used to sit next to her, and, she's doing her show prep and everything. And every once in a while, I would say to her, make sure this guest doesn't come back. Okay? All right. Or when we go in here today, because I would travel around with her, she would be doing interviews for her books. I would be like, make sure they don't invite us back after this. Right. And I'm telling you, Ricky Gervais went up there and somebody said to him, this is it. Make sure they don't invite you back. I couldn't believe they invited him back for that fifth time. But look, he's dunking on wokeness. There are some comedians out there that are willing to do it. Jerry Seinfeld, who's a clean comedian, has talked about it and how the left has ruined comedy.
Yeah, he won't even perform on college campuses anymore.
Well, not only that, he's got, the little Hamas children jumping up and screaming at some of these shows he's doing, and he's taking them apart like a precision surgery. He is just taking them apart in the way he can. He was out there promoting that Pop-Tart movie, and he was, doing interviews. And he basically said, look, people are making, they're trying to make comedy joyless. They're trying to make it not fun. Even Vince Vaughn, I saw him do an interview recently. He said, look, all those Laugh Pack movies we did, Old School, Swingers, some of those movies, you couldn't make those movies now. I mean, that's how far we've been drugged because of the corporations that control our entertainment, that are deciding what jokes are taboo and what aren't.
But I think you just said something critical. The point is to kind of suck the joy out of life, isn't it? To make everyone, when they talk about equity and equal outcomes for everyone, isn't it that we'll all be miserable equally?
You've got it, brother. Look, you got Tampon Tim and you got Kamala at the Democrat National Convention talking about joy and good vibes. Well, the joy and good, I don't know whether you've seen the poll numbers, but the joy and the good vibes are gone, right? Now it's just attack, 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 whine, 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 attack, deploy Obama, deploy Bill Clinton, fine. They're panicking. The 5-alarm fire, nobody's buying it. But if you've got this talk about joy, if there's anything that we know about liberalism, anything that we know, brother, about cultural Marxism, it's that, you know, wokeism in general, trickle-down wokeism, trickle-down cultural Marxism equals trickle-down misery. They want to make you miserable. I don't care whether it's canceling a show on Netflix or taking Mayor Bloomberg taking the salt shaker out of your hands, getting rid of the big gulp at the 7-Eleven, right? They want to suck all joy from you. Don't ever believe it. And, you know, J.D. Vance was onto something, because their goal, actually, when they dream about what can be becoming unburdened by what has been, their goal is for all of us to be childless, unmarried, sitting in our apartments. You know, maybe we get some cats delivered from Ohio, right? The ones that weren't on the menu. We get some cats delivered. We put Taylor Swift on in the background, and we're going to sit there and we're going to scream about white privilege and the patriarchy. That's what they want from us. Miserable, alone, listening to Taylor, childless, with our cats. Thank you, J.D. Vance.
And I have to ask, you know, do you think with the white privilege album, nothing's off limits for you? You target media, you target academia, you target all political figures. Now, do you think we've hit a tipping point where more people are starting to see through the left's tactics? Do you think that we're at a tipping point where people have had enough? You know, the idea that women can have penises, and people are just sick and tired of the craziness from the left.
Yeah, well, look, I think so. The Woking Dead exposed some of that. My first book, which actually just came out in paperback. You know, I'm trying to be the anti-woke Harry Potter here, right? Except I'm way better looking. And I'll just tell you, this is volume 2. And volume 2 has a subtitle. And the subtitle is Bringing Racial Harmony to Very Fine People on Both Sides. Now, Nick, I just want to give a big shout out to all the very fine people in this audience. You know who you are. I know you're out there. I crack a lot of jokes. I'm a Philadelphia wise ass. I write the way I speak. But let me just say this from a positive perspective. There is some racial harmony in the book. A lot of it comes through sports. I talk about Jackie Robinson. I talk about Jim Brown, the late Jim Brown, who was a big Trump guy there at the end. Him and Ray Lewis, reformed guys there. Ray Lewis. I mean, he was in prison. You know, some of it, sometimes these people find this through Jesus Christ. Other times, you know, they break because, you know, when wokeness follows you home and you got some dude pitching to your daughter in softball, you know, homie, don't play that. And when you're talking about racial harmony, one of the side-by-sides I do in the book, you know, you might appreciate this because I'm going to assume at least a little bit, Giordano, that one of your baseball teams, one of your 2 baseball teams is still playing right now. So let me address one of them. In the book, I talk about Colin Kaepernick and Aaron Judge. Okay? Both of mixed race, both with white adopted parents. On one hand, Kaepernick, you know, the race hustler, you know, got some virtue signaling money from Nike, and he took it and he used it to trash these people that raised him, people that rescued him, right? Both of these athletes are biracial. And, you know, he was given a platform and he used it to divide us more. Aaron Judge, on the other hand, and this is why the section's called All Hail Aaron Judge's Parents, is that his parents, his white parents, are school teachers in Colorado, and Aaron himself have done everything in their. He understands he has a responsibility. That when you're a Yankees fan and you're filling that stadium, and there's 27 trophies in the box, you have a responsibility. You have a responsibility for everyone. Your responsibility is not to be great for the people that live in Brooklyn or the people that live over in, you know, North Jersey or the Asian people that are watching you, or the black or the white or the purple or the whatever. He understands that. And yet, and he uses his platform with his charities, with adopted children, and foster kids and stuff. He uses it for good. And look, the political media is as left-wing as the sports media is as left-wing as the political media in a lot of instances. ESPN's owned by Disney. You have the Atlantic. You got a bunch of race hustlers over there. They want to see Aaron Judge's black fist in the air. But he's not doing it. And they tried it with the last captain, Derek Jeter, also of mixed race. They tried to drag him into some of this stuff over the years. He never took the bait. So if you're going to be the GOAT in any sport, I don't care whether you're Tom Brady or Tiger Woods or the GOAT of all GOATs, Michael Jordan, who famously said, Republicans buy sneakers too, and also refused to get drug into some of this nonsense. And to Kobe Bryant's credit, who I wrote about in the last book, he also refused to get drug into this stuff. If you're going to be the GOAT, you have to be the GOAT for everyone. So paging LeBron James, you don't just get to be the GOAT for MSNBC and Joy Reid or the CCP or the Women on the View or Oprah or Jay-Z and Beyonce. No, you have to be the GOAT for everyone, right? For everyone.
Well, that's such a good point, because I remember watching the Democratic National Convention. I mean, God help me, but you had Oprah Winfrey lecturing about wealth inequality and the pay gap, the gender pay gap. And you had Michelle Obama saying that people shouldn't keep more than they need when it comes to money. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, well, how much more of a powerful message from Oprah would have been like, I faced these obstacles, I faced these hurdles. It wasn't easy. I worked hard, but I achieved the American dream. And same thing with Michelle Obama. You said something very important early in this episode about how conservatives and Republicans, there's intellectuals, they'll write the books. You have the think tanks that will issue white papers that, someone like me is going to read those white papers, but they're not reaching the masses. Now, humor, can it be a more effective tool at dismantling the absurd ideas we're seeing from the left than another white paper that nobody's going to read?
100%. 100%. And it doesn't matter whether it's Lenny Bruce or Joan or Roseanne or Carlin or Pryor or Dice or Rice. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's Andrew Breitbart using the culture, Laura Ingraham, Rush, any one of them. I mean, Howard used to be a master of it before he became a company man, sitting in the basement out there on Long Island.
Yeah, you wrote that Howard Stern influenced you. What are your thoughts about the new Howard Stern?
He's a company man. He threw in. He's in the basement out there on Long Island with Billy Joel, and they're just sitting there giving each other boosters, COVID boosters. I mean, that's what they're doing. I mean, he's lost
the Don Amos of the left.
Not even. I mean, even Don at the end was still getting in trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? He got in trouble with the nappy-headed host and the Rutgers basketball team. So, I mean, look, Howard critiqued him when Imus then went on MSNBC and brought Sharpton in and got down on the floor, genuflected in front of Sharpton. And Howard was on the radio saying, what are you doing? Why are you apologizing? Howard has thrown in with the company men. So whether it's rock stars, some comedians like Seth Rogen, he threw his best friend, Franco, under the bus.
Yeah, seriously.
Franco, with a bunch of allegations. And he also said cancel culture's good. You have these wackos like Patton Oswalt and, some of these people out there that I guess they think that the brown shirts are never going to come for them, but they will. They will. See, these entertainers, whether you're talking about a Bob Dylan song or some songs that were on the Beatles' White Album, or the cover actually of my book is more in line with Pink Floyd's The Wall. If you go look at The Wall, it's red spray paint on a white brick wall. Gangster rap, Metallica, steampunk, goth, whatever the hell it is. The goal was always to protest the man, to protest authority. Whether you're, Robert Redford making All the President's Men, or whether you're, Rage Against the Machines, or Chuck D at Public Enemy, That was you were kind of, in a protest mode all the time.
Yeah,
So
fight
it's
against
amazing.
conformity. Now they become the conformist.
Exactly. So whether it's Howard or whoever, they've wrapped their arms around the Pentagon. They've wrapped their arms around Zelensky's bombs. They've wrapped their arms around the pharmaceutical company. So people need to talk about this. And no white paper from Cato or the Heritage Foundation. Most of that stuff is done so that we can legislate, right? It's not going to reach the kids with the devices. No freaking way.
No.
Right? But I can tell you, I've been on shows now for almost straight 3 years. 2 years of The Woking Dead, and now I just started the White Privilege album. I am reaching more people doing what I'm doing and trying to mix it up. So Gutfeld, Crowder, Rogan, Adam Carolla, they're the people that are still dealing with undecideds. They're the people that are converting people. So let me ask you a question. When you talk about the establishment and the think tanks and things like this, who do you think has more of an ability to convert people to sanity? You want to roll with Elon and Tulsi and RFK Jr., who have all endorsed Trump? Or do you want to roll with Kamala and the Cheneys? Who do you want to roll with, ladies and gentlemen? And the Romneys and the McCains and the heroes that were captured and the heroes that weren't captured? Who do you want to roll with? I'll take the battleship with Elon and RFK Jr. and Tulsi. Full disclosure, 2 of those people are my clients any day of the week. And they have the ability to help people, not be blind.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think I'm living in bizarro world when I see Cheney being celebrated by the left. It's something I never imagined would happen in my lifetime. That's for sure.
There.
It's crazy.
I was there.
But
I sat next to Ingram during that entire Iraq war and the surge, and Cheney used to call into the show, and Liz Cheney used to call into the show, and it is and they thought he was the freaking devil. And now they're very excited to tell a national audience, Dick Cheney and Dick Cheney in drag, his daughter, I'm proud. I stand here proudly with their endorsements. It's unbelievable. But, look, we're in a different time. Trump broke people.
No, he certainly did.
He broke the media for sure.
Just wait till November 5th. Imagine what they're going to be like when he wins again.
Yeah, I mean,
they're going to go apoplectic. Now,
that's right.
Too many on both the right and the left, but even on the right, you see them getting bogged down. They're frustrated. They're angry. They feel like they're not being listened to. Why is it so important to maintain a sense of humor and take some of the things that are coming from the left and just take it lighthearted, turn it around and make fun of them about it rather than get angry about it?
Right. Well, so COVID and some of the shenanigans around Trump have done some things. The suspension of disbelief is deteriorating. And at the same time that is happening, the consent of the governed is also deteriorating. And when those two things start to deteriorate, you've got just like regular grandmoms out there getting their news from Alex Jones and Bannon. And Bannon and Jones, Tucker, they don't need to be right 100% of the time. They don't. They need to be right enough. And for some people, enough is a different number. They need to be right enough where people start to question everything. So there is this skepticism that is like a fire in Maui roaring through. And it was created by the evil Gemini twins of wokeism and globalism. That's what we're dealing with here. And in the midst of that, it is important to maintain your sense of humor, right? The definition of humor, transforming horror into humor is the definition of comedy. Comedy plus time. Like, you can make fun of the Holocaust, but it better be funny. You can make fun of 9/11, but it better be funny. Right? Funny is the key, to quote Seinfeld, right? Because if it's not, you're done, right? You're done. Obviously, Michael Richards telling a joke is one thing, but running around on stage yelling the N word.
Yeah, that didn't work out too well for him.
Right. So, you need to be smart. You need to time it right. Now, some of these people are very rich guys. I mean, Chris Rock and Chappelle, they've got plenty of money. Now, if you're trying to come up tomorrow and you're trying to go to Caroline's or the Laugh Factory or one of these places, you might not get on stage if, you don't conform or if you pick the wrong target. See, Lenny Bruce used to say, and it was so funny because it was a different time where, it was like right-wingers were mad at Lenny. But if you fast forward to today, Lenny would probably be doing what Chappelle and Gervais are doing, right? What Joan was doing when she was calling Michelle Blackie O instead of Jackie O, So, Lenny used to say, you can make fun of God, and I always paraphrase this for audiences in our time. You can make fun of God, but you better make fun of the right God. Because if you make fun of the wrong God, if you make fun of Islam's God, if you make fun of the Prophet Muhammad, you might get stabbed like Salman Rushdie did 30 years later, right? If you make fun of the trans God, and the trans mafia may show up and try to whack you, right? And left-wing people have dealt with some of this. So, that's the thing, is that the left is collecting all these things that you're not allowed to talk about. And the right, who have become the cool kids, ironically, are taking that collection of stuff that you're not supposed to talk about and just brutalizing it. It could be through memes. It could be through reels on TikTok. So, we've gotten our act together, Nick. We're no longer a bunch of, Argyle sweater wearing dorks over at the Chamber of Commerce.
It's a great thing to hear. And everyone needs to check out the White Privilege album, bringing racial harmony to the very fine people on both sides. AJ, always a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for coming on. I'm going to have links up at the PAS report. So everyone go to PASreport.com. Thanks again for coming on, AJ.
Thank you, brother. You're a patriot. You keep fighting out there, okay?
Thank you for listening to the P.A.S. Report. Don't forget to rate, share, and hit that subscribe button. That way you'll never miss an episode. For more exclusive content and updates, visit us at PASreport.com and follow Professor Giordano on all social media platforms at P.A.S. Report.